I guess this only came up because I really wasn't getting sleep. I'm a chronic insomniac, but I guess we all are nowadays. When I was about 13 years old, I had a friend over to my family's new house for Halloween. It was our first time trick-or-treating in that neighborhood, and we were excited to test the waters because it was a nicer area and we figured that meant bigger candy. We were right. My new neighbors were, for the most part, all incredibly kind, and because they were all a bit better off than we'd been used to, there was definitely an upward flux in candy amount and quality. My parents, in attempting to celebrate their new house, threw a party and started drinking early in the evening, which left them out of reach for the most part. We were having a blast until we found ourselves about 6 blocks out, towards the end of the community. Every house was lit up, decorated and eager to have us, except one. In the middle of the street, there was a house with every light off. We figured, as we were sure anyone would, that it meant that whoever lived there wasn't handing out candy. We didn't think much of it and continued walking by. As we neared the path that led to the front door of the house, we heard a loud abrupt "Psst" from the shadowy front door. Scared but excited by the surrounding festivities, we stared into the darkness and made out a figure sitting on a bench that sat next to the front door.
Psst,
we heard once more.
Sorry the lights are out. My electricity is busted. But don't worry, I have candy,
said the voice that seemed to be of a man's. My friend and I weren't stupid, most of the time. But in that instance, we were driven by a need for candy and a sense of adventure. We walked up to the front door and saw an old man sitting next to a bowl of candy, as promised. We stared at him until I mustered up the courage to reach out my bag and say trick or treat.
Not so fast,
said the old man.
Let me look at those costumes.
We stood there, awkwardly watching him sit back and stare, admiring the simple and unimpressive details of our costumes.
Wow, Zorro and a pirate. You guys are definitely some of the best I've seen tonight. Say, you wouldn't mind if I snapped a picture, would you?
He said as he pulled for a Polaroid camera he had tucked in behind him. We nodded in fear as he reached the camera to his face and snapped the picture. At this point, we knew something wasn't right. He asked my friend if he could take a better look at his costume. He could tell it was handmade and wanted to admire it closer. He held my friend by the shoulders and stared at his costume for what felt like a lifetime. We walked away, confused but mostly relieved that nothing happened. When we got home, we told my parents about our experience with the man. They quickly sobered up and started dialing the police, as the mood of their party began to shift to concern and worry. The police went to investigate within the hour. The house didn't have electricity, only the man wasn't there. The house had been vacant for a very long time. I'm a 5'6" underage girl. Let's keep it at that. I live in a rather small town with about 20,000 people, and really nothing happens here. It's very uneventful. I'm a very paranoid person that's always anxious and scared of everything, but I think this time, I really believe my paranoia did me good. This past Halloween, I really wanted to walk around at night when people are trick-or-treating and be alone on my own for once. I grew up in a city with a high crime rate most of my life and just moved to a small city, and I thought I could have some free will to walk around the streets, not too far from my home, and soak in the atmosphere since I'm too old to trick-or-treat now. I found the perfect opportunity to do that when my mom and brother planned on running a few errands on Halloween night, and I could be dropped off to walk around until they finished. I was so happy and excited to do this since I'm a very cheesy person and I cherish the small things, like being alone. So I was dropped off around 8 p.m. with a coffee and my Beats to listen to music. It was so comforting to have that time, and I was just watching people get candy and having fun and sipping coffee while also being very paranoid. Growing up in a highly dangerous city with a paranoid mother did me good and gave me a lot of anxiety. Okay, so that's not all that great, but it helped me be aware of my surroundings at all times. So I'm walking around, listening to music, sipping coffee, and looking over my shoulder every 10 seconds. A lot of kids and cars are out, so I'm not all that scared, but I'm consistently looking around. So I make it off the street that has the most people, turn the corner, and I see this street that is just dead. And by dead, I mean dead. No decorations out front on any of the houses. Everybody's lights are off, even though it's not very late, and there are hardly any cars. Now, I think this is probably nothing, and these people just don't celebrate Halloween, since it's not everybody's favorite holiday. But my paranoia still set in, and I'm kind of freaked out. But I continue walking down the street at a casual pace. As I'm making my way towards the end of the street, consistently looking behind me just for precautions, the song I was playing on my phone ends, and another comes on that I didn't want to hear. So I take my phone out, pause the song, and change it. As soon as I paused my music, I heard this rhythmic pat, pat, pat. Now, my headphones are very good at blocking out outside noises, so whatever this was, it was either something really loud or something very close. I immediately look behind me to see a dark silhouette of a man sprinting towards me. I am petrified, and I honestly cannot run. I was honestly so stupid and thought that maybe they weren't running after me. I speed walk, and this guy is getting closer. I come to the end of the street and see that a mother is pushing her kid in a stroller and talking to a friend, so I turn their way and walk close to them. I have taken off my headphones and hear this person's footsteps slow as he comes up alongside me and walks past me down the street and turns left. To this day, I don't know if I avoided an incident of something very, very bad, or the man wasn't running after me and had intentions of going elsewhere and I just thought the worst. I don't know what could have happened, and I'm terrified to think about it. Once a year, Halloween rolls around. I just joined a new rugby club back in August, but hadn't gotten too involved in the social side of things just yet. That all changed around Halloween. The club had a party at the clubhouse, which apparently anyone who was anyone would be attending. My friends didn't have too much going on that night, so I figured this would be a good night to see these guys out of a rugby capacity. I made up a costume, went to the clubhouse, and was surprised to see that I was quite early. In fact, I was the first guy to show up, and 5 of the girls were already present. Almost immediately, one of the girls seemed to take a shine to me, and I locked into her for the balance of the night. We chatted, we drank together, we danced, and of course we wound up on the balcony together. Use your imagination for what happened. So it's getting around midnight, and I'm on the balcony with the girl, wondering if I'm going to be able to close the deal. No sale, she says. Friends of hers are planning on crashing at her place afterwards, which means there's no chance of me getting in a cab with her. We make out some more, and it's becoming evident that nothing further is happening for me with this girl. I'm drunk and pleased with the makeout. I figure now is a good time to get running. We kiss goodnight, and I leave the club around 1 a.m. It's a cold and crisp night as I walk to the first major intersection to hail a cab. Very few cars are on the road, so I pull up my phone and look up a number. Busy signal. I try again. Voicemail. Try once more. Still voicemail. At this point I think, well, I'm 5 kilometers from home. I might as well get walking. I'm still pleasantly drunk, still smiling after the events with the girl. I'm in a good mood, and I'm thinking I'll be positive, walk home, and be in bed in an hour. The path I take, which is the most direct route home from my club, happens to go past one of the largest cemeteries in my city. I don't think too much of it. It's just a cemetery, and I am far from superstitious. However, tonight I swear I can hear rustling and human voices. I noticed a few silhouettes among the headstones and deemed this to be the source of the noises. Just teenagers, I muttered to myself. Fireworks are legal in my province around Halloween, and when I was a teenager I was all too happy to find somewhere spooky and secluded to set off my fireworks stash. I quicken my step, and sure enough I hear all the telltale popping sounds of fireworks going off. After passing the graveyard, I get to the hill that forms the border of my subdivision. There's a major road that runs up the hill, but it has a walking path that you can elect to take, which shaves easily 10 minutes off the walk. At this point, I've been hiking for some 45 minutes. It's cold, my buzz is wearing off, and I'm just cranky. The shortcut may be dark, but damn it, it's a shortcut. I reason with myself that I'm 6'6", 225 pounds, a rugby player, and I'm carrying a hard hat, part of my costume, that would help me defend myself in a pinch. So the shortcut it is. As soon as I get onto the walking path into the trees, I'm struck by how silent it is. The brief interruptions from the rare driver who is on the road at 1:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning are now non-existent. All I can hear are my footsteps and the rustle of leaves under my shoes. At least, I think that's all I can hear. I notice an echo, but it's a little out of phase, almost like it's not an echo, but that someone is following me. I stop walking, and a split second later, the echo stops. I'm now very nervous. It's too dark to look around, so instead I try to convince myself that I'm drunk and paranoid and my mind is playing tricks on me. Nonetheless, I speed up my pace and listen carefully for any foreign sounds. I make it up to the top of the path, to the streetlights, and spin around as soon as I am in the light. As much as I try to write it off as my own imagination, I am convinced that a small figure in a black hoodie has dived behind a bush the very second that I whirled around. Now that I've seen what I assume is someone following me, I start jogging. It's out of character for me to be this afraid of, well, nothing, but it's late and dark and cold and I've been drinking, so I am not taking any chances. I'm a good 10 minutes from my place, less if I run. So I run, but I swear that the hooded person is running with me. Finally, I make it to the crest of the hill where my building is. It's dead silent. I live on a very quiet street. My apartment has a big security door that only the tenants have keys for, so I know that if I can make it into the apartment, I'll be safe. I sprint up the walk and then stop, dead. Right in front of the security door, with its back turned to me, is the same figure in the hoodie that I'd seen at the end of the walking path. I can't see its face, but I'm positive. It's in my path and I know I need to bypass it to get into my building. I take a few steps towards the door and suddenly it turns to face me. The face on the figure cannot be described. It was just a mess of scar tissue. No eyes, no nose, barely even lips. Just a pile of scar tissue. I opened my mouth to scream, but the words wouldn't come. The figure put its hands on my shoulders, and that is all I remember. When I came to the next morning, the sunlight was streaming in my blinds, and I had a splitting headache. I assumed the episode with the burned boy had just been my imagination. I walked downstairs to grab a paper and saw the following headline: Burnaby boy killed in firework accident. There was a file photo. He was a slight kid in a black hoodie with a mischievous smile. I went on to read the article, and it talked about the boy and his friends meeting at the Forest Lawn Cemetery to tell scary stories and light fireworks.